My name is Ruth Campbell. I'm 71 years old. At the family dinner, I walked in with fresh stitches above my eyebrow. Actually, that's not quite accurate. I didn't walk. I hobbled in on crutches, wearing the same pink dress I'd worn to my husband's funeral 15 years ago. The room went silent, but not out of concern. It was the silence of people caught mid-laugh, frozen with guilt they'd never admit to feeling. The only sound was my necklace clinking against my chest as I moved, the small silver locket my husband gave me on our 30th anniversary. Inside was a photo of us planting roses in the garden. Those roses are still there. Before we continue, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to see how far our stories are reaching. Unlike some people, my granddaughter Sophia was leaning against the marble counter, her phone held high. She smirked, not even trying to hide it. "Mom taught her how to treat someone who doesn't know her place," she said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. Then she turned her phone toward me, snapping a selfie with me blurred in the background, my crutches and bandaged head visible. Her fingers moved fast across the screen. I didn't need to see it to know what she was typing. Something like, "Grandma trying to get attention again," on drama. Elena, my daughter-in-law, stood near the new white leather couch they'd bought last month. With my money, I later discovered. She sipped her wine, a $200 bottle, I recognized the label, and exchanged glances with my son David. Neither of them said a word. Not, "Are you okay, Mom?" Not, "What happened?" Nothing. My other son Marcus, the high school teacher who preaches ethics to teenagers, stood near the window with his arms crossed. He looked at the floor. His silence hurt more than Sophia's cruelty. At least she was young and stupid. He knew better. And there, sitting in my husband's old armchair like she owned it, was Judith, my sister-in-law. 69 years old and smiling like a cat with a canary. She'd driven here in Elena's brand new white sports car, a BMW. I'd seen them pull up together laughing, their heads thrown back like they'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. I wasn't surprised by the fall anymore. That happened 3 weeks ago, February 14th, Valentine's Day. Ironic, isn't it? The day we're supposed to celebrate love. I'd been going up to the attic to get the old letters my husband wrote me during our courtship. I do it every year on his birthday. The stairs are steep, wooden, the ones he built himself 40 years ago. I'd climbed them 1,000 times. But that morning, my foot slipped on the 3rd step. I grabbed the railing, but my leg went out from under me. I fell backward, hit my head on the corner of the step, and my leg twisted at an angle that made me scream. The pain was immediate, white-hot, shooting through my knee and up my spine. I lay there for 20 minutes before David found me. 20 minutes calling for help, my voice echoing in that empty house. At the hospital, they stitched my eyebrow, 8 stitches, and told me I'd fractured my leg. 6 weeks in a cast, they said. Maybe longer at my age. "You're lucky you didn't break your hip, Mrs. Campbell," the young doctor told me, like I should be grateful. I didn't tell him about the oil. I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. But I knew. I'd seen the small puddle on the step afterward, when David helped me back inside. Mineral oil, the kind that's almost invisible on wood. The kind someone could pour and no one would notice until it was too late. I opened my purse slowly, letting the zipper sound cut through the silence. Everyone's eyes turned toward me. I could feel the tension spike. Elena's hand tightened around her wine glass. Judith stopped smiling. I pulled out a single sheet of paper, folded once. My hands didn't shake, not anymore. That was something I'd learned in the past 3 weeks, how to stop shaking when rage replaces fear. "I thought we could talk about some documents tonight," I said, my voice steady. I unfolded the paper and read one line aloud, slowly, clearly. "Revocation of power of attorney and living trust, dated March 15th, 2024. Elena's face went white. Not pale. White. Like someone had drained every drop of blood from her body. The wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the hardwood floor, red liquid spreading like a wound. "What?" she started, but her voice cracked. I wasn't finished. I reached into my purse again and pulled out my phone. With 3 taps, I connected it to their smart TV, the one they bought last Christmas. My Christmas money, probably. The screen lit up. A PDF document appeared, projected large enough for everyone to read. Revocation of power of attorney. Ruth Campbell, effective immediately. But that wasn't what made Elena sink onto the couch. It was the second document that appeared when I swiped left. A bank statement. My bank statement. February 3rd, 2024. Wire transfer attempted. $50,000 status. Flagged for fraud. Authorized by power of attorney. Elena Martinez Campbell. Destination. Personal account. 782. Elena Martinez Campbell. The room exploded. Marcus said, "What the hell, Elena?" David turned to his wife, his mouth open. Judith stood up, her face suddenly tight with panic. But Sophia, my granddaughter, the girl I'd bought a car for when she turned 18, the girl whose college I'd offered to pay for before she dropped out, just stared at the screen. Then she looked at me, and I looked back. "Grandma," she whispered. "I didn't know—" "Didn't know what?" I asked. My voice was calm, too calm. The calm that comes right before a storm. "Didn't know your mother tried to steal $50,000 from me? Or didn't know she was going to cut you in on it?" Elena found her voice. "That's not— You don't understand. I was trying to protect— Protect what?" I interrupted. I took a step forward on my crutches. The rubber feet squeaked on the floor. "Protect the money you were planning to steal? Protect the house you were planning to take? Or protect the story you've been telling everyone about how I'm losing my mind?" Silence. I smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a grandmother's smile. A smile that said I knew everything. "We have a lot to talk about tonight," I said. "And for once, I'm going to do all the talking. You're all going to sit down, shut up, and listen. Because if you don't—" I held up my phone. "This bank statement is just the first page. I have 63 more. And a lawyer who's very interested in hearing about all of them." David's face crumbled. "Mom, please, let's just sit down." He sat. They all sat. And I began to tell them exactly what I'd discovered over the past 3 weeks, starting with the oil on my stairs. I didn't sleep that night after the dinner. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Elena's face when that bank statement appeared on the screen. Not guilt, not shame. Just cold calculation, like she was already planning her next move. At 3 a.m., I got out of bed and hobbled to the barn on my crutches. The pain in my leg was worse at night, throbbing with each step, but I needed to see it again, to make sure I hadn't imagined it. The barn still smelled like my husband, motor oil, sawdust, and that cheap cologne he wore every Sunday to church. I kept his tools exactly where he left them, the wrench still hanging on the third hook, the level on the workbench, his reading glasses folded on top of the cabinet. I opened the cabinet's bottom drawer. That's where I'd found them 2 weeks ago, hidden under old tax returns from 1987. Architectural plans, professional blueprints, the expensive kind with color renderings and 3D mock-ups. I spread them across the workbench under the single hanging bulb. Campbell Property Redevelopment Project, Luxury Condominiums, Phase 1, 16 units, starting at $320,000. My farmhouse, the house my husband built with his own hands in 1976, the house where I raised 2 boys, the house where I buried my herb garden and hung Christmas lights every December, was gone. Erased. In its place stood a modern glass building with a rooftop pool and something called a yoga terrace. Unit 7, second floor, northeast corner, was marked with a pink sticky note in handwriting I recognized immediately. Judith's looping cursive. Mine. Best view of downtown. She'd already picked her apartment, while I was still living here, while I was still breathing. I found the contractor's estimate stapled to the back. Total demolition and construction, $2. $4 million expected profit margin, $18 million timeline, 18 months from property acquisition. Property acquisition. That's what they called stealing my home. But it was the other document that made my hands shake. A brochure, glossy and professional, with photos that looked like a luxury hotel, Sunset Acres, memory care facility, specialized care for advanced dementia patients, private rooms available, $8,500 month 24-hour medical supervision. Someone had circled private rooms in red pen. There was a date written in the margin. April 1st, 2024. 2 weeks from now. A post-it note was stuck to the front. Reservation confirmed. R. Campbell, paid deposit $5,000. EMC. Elena had already reserved my room. She'd paid the deposit. With my money, obviously, since she didn't have any of her own. I sat down heavily on my husband's old stool, the one with the cracked leather seat. My leg throbbed. My head pounded where the stitches pulled at my skin. I thought about David, my baby boy, the one who used to wake me up at 6 a.m. on Saturdays to make pancakes, the one who cried when his hamster died and made me promise we'd see it again in heaven. That boy worked at a bank now. Made $120,000 a year, he told everyone. Had a master's degree in accounting. MBA from Stanford, or so people thought. I never told anyone the truth. That Stanford rejected him 3 times. That he finally got into a state school program, barely accredited, the kind that accepts anyone who can pay. And pay I did. $110,000 over 3 years. I sold my mother's jewelry, the pearls she wore at her wedding, the sapphire earrings my father gave her on their 50th anniversary, the gold bracelet I was supposed to give to my own daughter if I'd ever had one. I worked 3 jobs to cover what the jewelry money didn't. Morning shift at the diner on Route 9, 6 to noon. Afternoon bookkeeping for Miller's Hardware, 1 to 5. Weekend cleaning at the church, every Saturday, scrubbing toilets and polishing pews. I was 51 years old, crawling on my knees to scrub bathroom floors so my son could get a degree. He told his friends he got a scholarship. A merit-based full ride, he called it. I heard him say it at a barbecue once, his chest puffed out, proud as a peacock. His wife Elena nodding along, her hand on his arm, both of them lying so smoothly I almost believed it myself. I found something else in the barn that night, tucked behind the plans, almost like someone had tried to hide it and forgot. Medical documents, psychiatric evaluations, 2 of them printed on official letterhead from doctors I'd never heard of. Dr. Patricia Vance, MD, neuropsychiatric evaluation patient. Ruth Campbell, DOB 3 to 15 Tussie, 1953. Diagnosis, vascular dementia, advanced stage recommendation, immediate supervised care facility placement. Patient presents with severe memory loss, confusion, inability to manage finances or personal care. Dr. Michael Torres, MD, cognitive assessment patient. Ruth Campbell, diagnosis, Alzheimer's disease, moderate to severe notable symptoms, paranoid delusions, aggression, wandering behavior, recommendation, involuntary commitment for patient safety. I read them 3 times. Then I checked the dates. I had never met Dr. Patricia Vance. I had never met Dr. Michael Torres. I had never been evaluated by any psychiatrist in my entire life. These documents were completely fabricated. My daughter-in-law, the licensed therapist who counseled couples on trust and communication, had forged medical records to have me declared incompetent. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the papers. There was one more document, an envelope, cream-colored, expensive paper, the kind you use for wedding invitations. Inside was a single card with official state letterhead. Mandatory psychiatric evaluation Ruth Campbell court order, Chiukadi 24, 8847. Date, March 29, 2024, 9 Sabur a.m. Location, County Mental Health Facility. Failure to appear will result in immediate involuntary commitment. March 29th. I checked my phone. Today was March 27th. I had 48 hours before they came for me. The card slipped from my fingers and landed on the concrete floor. I stared at it, my vision blurring. 48 hours before an ambulance would pull up to my house, before men in uniforms would put me in restraints, before I'd be locked in a white room with no door handle on the inside. My phone buzzed. A text message from David. Mom, we need to talk. Can I come by tomorrow morning? It's important. I knew what that meant. He was coming to prepare me, to soften me up, to convince me that going quietly would be better for everyone. I looked around the barn, my husband's tools, his workbench, the old radio he used to fix every Sunday morning, taking it apart and putting it back together while he listened to gospel music. The radio. I walked over to it, pulled it down from the shelf. It was heavier than I remembered. I turned it over in my hands, and that's when I heard it. Something rattling inside. Something that wasn't supposed to be there. I found a screwdriver and carefully opened the back panel. Inside, Nestled between the circuit boards and wiring was a small cassette tape. On the label, in my husband's handwriting, "For Ruth, our 30th anniversary, 2005. My hands trembled as I held it. I didn't have 48 hours to feel sorry for myself. I had 48 hours to fight back, and I knew exactly where to start. I sat on the barn floor with that cassette tape in my hands until sunrise. The concrete was cold through my nightgown, but I couldn't move. Couldn't think about anything except what might be on that tape. At 6 a.m., I finally went back to the house. My legs screamed with every step up the porch stairs. I made coffee with shaking hands, then went to the hall closet where I kept the old tape player, the same one my husband used to record his sermons when he taught Sunday school. I put the tape in, pressed play, held my breath, static first, then his voice, so clear it felt like he was standing right behind me. "Ruth, honey, if you're listening to this, I'm already gone. It's our 30th anniversary today, March 15th, 2005. You're at the diner right now, working that morning shift so David can finish his degree. You don't know I'm recording this. You don't know I've been recording one every year since we got married." My hand flew to my mouth. 30 tapes. He'd made 30 tapes. "I hid them in the radio because I knew you'd never look there. You always said I spent too much time fixing that old thing." He laughed, that warm sound I'd missed every single day for 15 years. "But I wanted you to have these, in case something happened to me, in case you ever forgot how strong you are." The tape crackled. I heard him take a breath. "I know what you're doing for David, selling your mama's jewelry, working yourself to death. I tried to tell you to let him take out loans like everyone else, but you wouldn't hear it. That's who you are, Ruth. You'd give away your last dollar if you thought it would help someone you love." Tears ran down my face. I didn't wipe them away. "But baby, listen to me. I need you to remember something. This house, our land, this is your protection. This is what keeps you safe when I'm gone. Don't ever let anyone take it from you. Not David. Not anyone. You hear me? Never sign anything without reading every word. Never trust anyone who says they know what's best for you." The tape ended. I sat there staring at the player, my heart hammering. I went back to the barn, pulled down the radio again. Behind where the first tape had been, I found 29 more, each one labeled with a year. Our first anniversary, our 10th, our 20th, every single one. But there was something else in the radio, a small leather notebook, worn at the edges, the kind my husband carried in his shirt pocket, his diary. I opened it to a random page. June 1980. "Ruth gave up her teaching position today. Said it was because we needed someone home with the boys. But I know the truth. The school board told her they couldn't keep a pregnant woman on staff. It's 1980 and they still think that way. She cried in the bathroom for an hour. Didn't think I heard. She would have been department head in 5 years. She gave up everything." I flipped forward. March 1995. Marcus asked his mother why she never went to college. Ruth told him she had, that she graduated with honors. Didn't tell him she only made it 2 years before her father died, and she had to drop out to work. Didn't tell him she spent the next 20 years raising kids instead of finishing her degree. She protects them from her own sacrifices. That's the kind of mother she is. Page after page, year after year. Every time I'd given something up, gone without, worked extra hours, sacrificed my dreams, he'd written it down, documented it like evidence in a trial. The last entry was dated 2 weeks before he died, October 2010. "Ruth doesn't know I'm sick. Cancer, stage 4. Doctor says 6 months, maybe less. I'm not going to tell her. She'd spend our savings trying to save me, and we both know it won't work. I've updated everything. The will, the property deed, the bank accounts. Everything is in her name alone, the way it should be, protected. The boys can't touch it without her signature. She's going to be okay. My Ruth is a survivor." The notebook fell from my hands. He knew I'd need protection from our own sons. At 11 p.m., I heard a car in the driveway, then footsteps on the porch, trying to be quiet. A key turning in the lock, the spare key I'd given David years ago. I was sitting in the dark living room waiting. The door opened. David crept in, using his phone flashlight. He went straight to the desk in the corner, started opening drawers, looking for something. "The property deed isn't in there," I said. He jumped, nearly dropped his phone. "Mom, Jesus, you scared me. What are you doing sitting in the dark? Watching my son try to rob me. What are you doing, David? He stood there, frozen, his face pale in the glow from his phone. I just needed to check on something for your taxes. At 11 at night? Without asking me? His shoulders sagged. Mom, please, you don't understand. I have to what? Steal from me? Help your wife put me in a nursing home? It's not like that. His voice broke. He sank into the chair by the desk, put his head in his hands. You think I want this? You think I want to do this to you? Then don't. I can't. He looked up at me and I saw tears on his face. Real tears. She'll destroy me, Mom. He pulled out his phone, hands shaking, pulled up messages, showed me the screen. Text from Elena, dated 3 weeks ago. If you don't get your mother to sign, everyone finds out about Jennifer. Your job, your reputation, everything, your choice. I stared at the message. Jennifer? A woman at work. It was stupid. It was one time 2 years ago, a conference. I was drunk and lonely, and Elena had been treating me like shit for months. He was crying now, really crying. Elena found her messages. She's been holding it over me ever since. So you chose to betray me instead of face your mistakes? I didn't know what else to do. She said if I didn't help, she'd take Sophia, take everything. She said you'd be better off in a facility anyway, that you were getting old and confused and you believed her? He couldn't look at me. That was answer enough. I took his phone, scrolled through more messages, found a conversation between Elena and Judith from this morning. Judith. When is the evaluation? Elena. Day after tomorrow. She can't stop it now. Judith. What if she fights? Elena. She won't. We need to commit her before she finds out about the cancer anyway. My blood went cold. What cancer? David looked up, confused. What? I showed him the message. He read it, his face going white. I don't know. I swear to God, Mom, I don't know what she's talking about. I read it again. And again. What cancer? Mine? David's? Was someone dying? Or was it another lie, another manipulation? Get out, I said quietly. Mom, get out of my house. He stood up, backing toward the door. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You never wanted to be a man. You wanted to be a coward. Now leave. He left. I heard his car start, heard him drive away. I sat alone in the dark, holding his phone, staring at that message. Before she finds out about the cancer. I had 36 hours until they came for me, and now I had a new mystery to solve. But first, I needed help. Real help. The kind that doesn't come from family. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in 12 years. It rang 4 times. Then a voice answered, rough with sleep. Hello? Miguel? This is Ruth Campbell. I need to ask you for a favor. A big one. Miguel Rodriguez arrived at 6 a.m. the next morning, carrying a briefcase and 2 cups of coffee. He was 40 now, tall and solid, with gray starting at his temples. The last time I'd seen him, he was 12 years old, helping his grandfather load furniture onto a truck after I'd paid their back rent. Mrs. Campbell, he said, handing me a coffee. You look tired. I'm 71 and someone's trying to have me committed. How should I look? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. My grandfather told me what you did for us. Said you paid 3 months of rent when the landlord was going to evict us. Said you didn't even know us, just heard about it at church and showed up with a check. Your grandfather was a good man. He died last year, didn't he? Yes, ma'am. Pneumonia. Miguel set his briefcase on my kitchen table, opened it. He made me promise something before he passed. He said, Mijo, if Ruth Campbell ever needs help, you drop everything. You understand? Everything. So here I am. I showed him everything. The fake medical documents, the architectural plans, the text messages, the cassette tapes and diary. He listened, took notes, his face getting harder with each new piece of evidence. This is elder abuse, he said flatly. Financial exploitation, coercion, forgery, fraud. Your daughter-in-law is looking at serious prison time. Your sister-in-law, too. What about the psychiatric evaluation tomorrow? It's not legitimate. The court order is real, but it was obtained using fraudulent medical evidence. We can fight it, but, he paused. Mrs. Campbell, if they get you into that facility, even for 24 hours, it's going to be much harder to get you out. They'll medicate you, claim you're a danger to yourself, drag it out for weeks. So what do? We go on a fence. Today. He pulled out a contract. First, you sign this. It makes me your legal representative, effective immediately. No one can make medical or financial decisions for you except you. Second, we document everything. I'm going to install cameras in your house. Cameras? Hidden ones. If Elena or anyone comes here and says something incriminating, we catch it. Third, he pulled out another paper. We send a message, a big one. Over the next 6 hours, Miguel transformed my house. Tiny cameras went behind picture frames, inside the living room lamp, even in the kitchen clock. He showed me how to check them on my phone, how to download recordings. If they come here and say anything at all about the plan, the nursing home, the property, we have it. That afternoon, I got a text from Judith. Ruth, I'm coming by to check on you. I feel terrible about the other night. Let me make it right. I showed Miguel. He grinned. Perfect. Act normal. Let her talk. Judith arrived at 4 p.m. with flowers and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Ruth, honey, you look exhausted. Are you sleeping okay? Not really, I said, playing my part. I made my voice a little vague, a little confused. I keep forgetting things. Where I put my keys, what day it is. Her eyes lit up. Actually lit up like she'd won the lottery. Oh, sweetie, that's exactly what we've been worried about. Maybe the evaluation tomorrow is a good thing. They can help you. I don't want to go, I said, letting my voice shake. I'm scared. There's nothing to be scared of. It's just doctors. They'll take good care of you. She patted my hand. Her voice dropped, became almost gleeful. And honestly, Ruth, this house is too much for you. All these stairs, all this space. Wouldn't a nice small room be easier? I looked down, let tears come. They weren't hard to find. I suppose. That's right. And Elena and we've been talking. We think, she glanced around, like she was checking if anyone could hear. We think you'll be much happier somewhere with people around. You won't be lonely anymore. How long would I be there? Oh, honey, she squeezed my hand. Probably for good. At your age, with your confusion, it's just safer. But don't worry about this place. We'll take care of it. We already have plans for... She stopped herself. Plans for what? Nothing. Never mind. She stood up quickly. I should go. Big day tomorrow. After she left, Miguel played back the recording. We could hear everything, every word. That's coercion, he said, and admission of a conspiracy. This is getting better and better. That night, I found the truth about the cancer. Miguel had a private investigator friend who pulled Elena's medical records, perfectly legal with the right subpoena. There was no cancer, not mine, not David's, not anyone's. It was a lie, a complete fabrication. Elena had invented it to pressure Judith into moving faster. Before she finds out, didn't mean I was sick. It meant before I discovered they were lying about someone being sick to manipulate me into signing papers. The cruelty of it took my breath away. But Miguel smiled when I showed him. That's another charge. Fraud. Emotional manipulation. The DA is going to love this case. At midnight, I did something I'd been planning all day. I sat at my kitchen table with my husband's favorite fountain pen, the one he used to write his sermons, and I practiced his handwriting. I'd been married to him for 45 years. I knew every loop, every slant. It took me 2 hours, but I finally got it right. I wrote 4 invitations on cream-colored cards. Please come to the house tomorrow at 10 a.m. We need to talk about the future. There are things you don't know, things I should have told you before I died. James Campbell. I put them in envelopes, addressed them in his handwriting. Marcus Campbell, David Campbell, Elena Martinez Campbell, Judith Campbell. Miguel watched me work. That's manipulative as hell, Mrs. Campbell. I learned from the best, I said. They've been manipulating me for months. Turnabout is fair play. You think they'll actually come? Oh, they'll come. They'll think I've lost my mind, that I'm having delusions about James being alive. It'll be more evidence for their case. I sealed the last envelope. But they'll come. I mailed them that night. Express delivery. They'd arrive at 7 a.m. tomorrow, 3 hours before the psychiatric evaluation was supposed to happen. Miguel left at 2 a.m. I'll be here at 9:30 tomorrow with everything we need. You sure you want to do this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. One more thing. He pulled out a business card, handed it to me. This is Dr. Sarah Chen. She treated your husband during his cancer. She knows your family. She's agreed to be present tomorrow as an independent psychiatric expert. She'll testify that you're completely competent. I looked at the card, my eyes filling with tears. She remembers James. She said he was one of the kindest patients she ever had. Said he talked about you constantly. Called you the strongest woman he'd ever met. Miguel squeezed my shoulder. He was right, Mrs. Campbell. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we end this. After he left, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my house, touching things. The kitchen table where we'd eaten dinner every night for 40 years. The couch where James and I watched the news. The bedroom where he'd died, holding my hand, telling me he loved me. This was my house, my life, my choice. At 9:45 a.m., they started arriving. Marcus first, looking confused and pale, holding the cream envelope like it might explode. Then Elena, her face tight with suspicion. David pulled up right after, and I could see him arguing with Elena in the driveway. Finally, Judith, clutching the invitation to her chest, her eyes wide. They all walked in together, a united front, saw me standing in the living room, dressed in the pink dress from the funeral, my hair done, makeup on. And they saw Miguel standing next to me in a suit, his briefcase open on the coffee table, and Dr. Chen, sitting in James's old armchair, her medical bag at her feet. And they saw the TV screen behind us, paused on a video. The video from yesterday. Judith's face frozen mid-sentence. We already have plans for... Elena's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Sit down, I said. All of you. It's time we had that talk about the future. They sat. The silence in my living room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Elena sat rigid on the couch, her hands clenched in her lap. Marcus stood by the window, his face gray. David wouldn't look at anyone. Judith kept glancing at the door like she was calculating how fast she could run. Before we begin, Miguel said, his voice professionally cold, I want to introduce Dr. Sarah Chen. Dr. Chen treated James Campbell during his final illness and has known this family for 15 years. She's here today as an independent psychiatric expert. Dr. Chen stood, gave a small nod. I evaluated Mrs. Campbell this morning. Comprehensive cognitive testing, memory assessment, the works. I'm prepared to testify under oath that Ruth Campbell is in complete possession of her mental faculties. She shows no signs of dementia, Alzheimer's, or any cognitive impairment whatsoever. Elena's face went white. That's not... The other doctors said... The other doctors, Miguel interrupted, never examine Mrs. Campbell because they don't exist. He pulled out papers from his briefcase. Dr. Patricia Vance? Her medical license was suspended in 2019. She hasn't practiced in 5 years. Dr. Michael Torres? There is no neuropsychiatrist by that name licensed in the state of Texas. You fabricated both evaluations, Ms. Martinez Campbell. That's a lie, Elena said, but her voice shook. Is it? I picked up the remote control. Let's see what else is a lie. I pressed play. The TV screen came to life. Judith's face appeared, sitting right where she was sitting now, yesterday afternoon. This house is too much for you. All these stairs, all this space. Wouldn't a nice small room be easier? Judith gasped. On screen, her voice continued. We think you'll be much happier somewhere with people around. You won't be lonely anymore. How long would I be there? My voice, small and frightened. Oh, honey, probably for good. At your age, with your confusion, it's just safer. But don't worry about this place. We'll take care of it. We already have plans for... I paused the video. Plans for what, Judith? Want to finish that sentence now? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I pulled up the next video. Elena and Judith in my kitchen 3 days ago when they thought I was napping upstairs. Elena's voice, crystal clear. How much longer do you think she'll last in that place? Judith laughing. With the medication they'll put her on? 6 months, maybe a year. Then the property is free and clear. Elena. And Marcus agrees to the split? 25% each? Judith. He's not happy about it, but he knows if he doesn't cooperate, he gets nothing. I stopped the video, looked at Marcus. 25%. That's what my life was worth to you? He couldn't meet my eyes. Mom, don't. My voice was ice. Don't you dare call me that right now. Miguel pulled out more papers. Bank records. Elena Martinez Campbell, on February 3rd, you attempted to wire transfer $50,000 from Mrs. Campbell's account using a forged power of attorney. The bank flagged it as fraud. But you didn't stop there, did you? He laid out bank statements across the coffee table. February 8th, you successfully transferred $25,000 by forging Mrs. Campbell's signature on a withdrawal slip. February 15th, another $10,000. March 2nd, $15,000. Total stolen, $50,000. That's felony theft, Ms. Martinez Campbell. Elena stood up. I don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Miguel said. His voice wasn't loud, but something in it made Elena sit. We're not finished, not even close. I pulled out the architectural plans, unfolded them on the table. Who wants to explain these? No one spoke. 16 luxury condominiums, $2.4 million in construction costs, $1.8 million in profit. Unit 7, second floor, already picked out by Judith. I looked at my sister-in-law. You were going to demolish my home, the home my husband built, and you'd already chosen which apartment you wanted. Judith's voice came out as a whisper. It was supposed to help everyone. The property is worth so much, Ruth. You could all profit from putting me in a cage. I felt the rage rising, hot and sharp. You could all get rich while I rotted in a facility, drugged and forgotten. It wasn't like that, Marcus said weakly. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Explain how you stood by while your brother's wife forged medical documents. Explain how you agreed to take 25% of my life. He couldn't. The front door burst open. Sophia stumbled in, her face blotchy with tears, her hands shaking. Grandma, She saw everyone. Saw the papers, saw the frozen video on the TV. Oh, God. Oh, God, you know everything. Sophia, shut up, Elena hissed. Don't say another word. I can't do this anymore. Sophia collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. I can't keep lying. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I walked over to her, my crutches clicking on the hardwood. Looked down at my granddaughter, this girl I'd loved since the day she was born. What are you sorry for, Sophia? The stairs, she whispered. Mom paid me $1,000 to make you fall. She said it would just scare you a little, make you think you needed help. She said you'd be fine, but you weren't fine. You got hurt so bad and She was hyperventilating now. She promised me a new car if we got the inheritance, a BMW like hers, and I wanted it so much I didn't even think. Elena lunged at her daughter. You stupid little... David caught her arm. Don't you touch her. Elena whirled on him. This is your fault. If you'd just gotten the documents when I told you to, none of this would have happened. My fault? David's voice rose. You threatened to destroy my life. You blackmailed me. Because you're weak. You've always been weak, just like your pathetic mother. The room exploded. Marcus shouted at Elena. Judith tried to leave. Sophia kept crying. And through it all, I stood silent, watching my family tear itself apart. Miguel's phone buzzed. He looked at it, then at me, and nodded. Elena Martinez Campbell, a voice said from the doorway. You're under arrest. 2 police officers stepped into my living room. Elena's face went slack with shock. You can't! I'm a licensed therapist! I have rights. You have the right to remain silent, the first officer said, pulling out handcuffs. You're being charged with elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit false imprisonment. Elena tried to run. She actually tried to run, pushing past Marcus, heading for the back door. David stepped in front of her, blocked her path. No. Get out of my way. No. His voice was steady now, stronger than I'd heard it in years. You hurt my mother. You manipulated me. You used our daughter to commit a crime. Now you're going to face what you did. The officers handcuffed Elena. She screamed, thrashed, called David every name in the book. They led her out to the police car while the neighbors watched from their porches. Miguel handed papers to Marcus and Judith. Restraining orders. You're not permitted within 500 feet of Mrs. Campbell or her property. Violation will result in immediate arrest. But I didn't, Marcus started. You knew. I said quietly. You knew everything and you said nothing. That makes you guilty too. They left, Judith crying, Marcus silent and pale. Only David and Sophia remained. They sat on my couch, both of them looking like children who'd been caught stealing, which I supposed they had been. Sophia looked up at me, her young face aged by guilt. Are you going to press charges against me too? I lowered myself into James's old armchair, my leg throbbing. That depends. On what? On whether you mean it. The apology, the remorse. Because words are easy, Sophia. Anyone can say sorry. Your mother's probably saying it right now to those police officers. But sorry doesn't mean anything without change. I'll change, she whispered. I swear I'll change. We'll see. I looked at David. And you? He was crying silently, tears running down his face. I don't know how to fix this, Mom. I don't know if I can. You start by being honest. About everything. The affair, the debts, all of it. You start by getting away from that woman and becoming your own person. I'm filing for divorce, he said. Today. Good. That's a start. 3 months later, I sat in a courthouse on a Thursday morning, watching Elena Martinez Campbell stand before a judge in an orange jumpsuit. Ms. Martinez Campbell, Judge Morrison said, reading from the file, you have been found guilty of elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit false imprisonment. The court sentences you to 4 years in state prison, with eligibility for parole after 2 years. Additionally, your license to practice therapy has been permanently revoked by the state board. Elena's lawyer tried to argue, said she was a respected professional, a mother, a pillar of the community. The judge wasn't impressed. Ms. Martinez Campbell used her position as a therapist to manipulate and exploit a vulnerable family member. She forged medical documents. She stole $50,000. She orchestrated a plan to have her own mother-in-law illegally committed to a facility. This court takes elder abuse very seriously. Elena was led away. She didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just kept her eyes straight ahead, her face blank. David sat next to me in the gallery, his hands clasped between his knees. Is it wrong that I feel relieved? No, I said. It's not wrong. The next day, I got a phone call from Marcus. I almost didn't answer. Mom? His voice was small. I need to tell you something. I'm listening. I lost my job. The school board found out I used school computers to research property values and real estate lawyers. They said it was misuse of district resources. He took a shaky breath. And there's more. Some of the parents found out about everything, about what I tried to do to you. They're demanding I be removed from any teaching position. I see. The principal called me yesterday. Said my contract won't be renewed. 22 years of teaching, Mom. Gone. I waited. I deserve it, he said quietly. I know I deserve it. I wanted you to hear it from me. Thank you for telling me. Is there any chance? His voice broke. Is there any chance you'll ever forgive me? I don't know, Marcus. Ask me again in a year. I hung up. That afternoon, I drove past St. Catherine's Church, the one Judith had attended for 40 years. There was a sign on the bulletin board outside, Church Business Meeting. All members welcome. I learned later what happened in that meeting. How the congregation had voted, 37-3, to revoke Judith's membership. How the pastor had stood up and said that someone who would conspire to imprison an elderly widow had no place in their church. How Judith had walked out crying, and how not one person had followed her. In a town the size of Austin's suburbs, that kind of thing travels fast. Within a week, everyone knew. The woman at the grocery store, the man at the post office, the hairdresser, the librarian. Judith became invisible, the same way she tried to make me invisible. Sophia came to see me on a Saturday morning in June. She drove up in a beat-up Honda, not the BMW her mother had promised. She wore jeans with dirt on the knees and a t-shirt that said Community Service Volunteer. Hi, Grandma, she said quietly. Sophia. I finished my 200 hours at the senior center downtown, helping with activities, serving meals, just being there. She looked down at her hands. They were rough, the nails broken, not the manicured hands of the girl who'd taken selfies at my expense. It was hard, hearing their stories, knowing I'd hurt someone just like them. And I want to do more. I enrolled in nursing school, start in the fall. She met my eyes. I know it doesn't fix what I did, but I want to spend my life helping people instead of hurting them. That's good, Sophia. That's a real start. She gestured toward the garden. Can I help with the flowers? I know I destroyed them when I was helping Mom with the property assessment. I'd like to replant them, if you'll let me. I looked at my granddaughter, really looked at her. She was thinner now, older somehow. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something quieter, something that might be wisdom, given time. The tools are in the barn, I said. She worked for 3 hours, digging in the dirt, pulling weeds, planting new roses where the old ones had died. I watched from the porch, drinking the same chamomile tea I used to make for James. The tea Sophia had once said smelled like old people and sadness. When she finished, she came up to the porch, sweaty and dirty. There's more to do. The whole back section needs work. Can I come back next week? If you want to. I want to. She paused. Grandma, I need to tell you something else. About Dad. What about him? He's been going to therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind Mom pretended to do. And he's been working. Really working. He took a second job so he could pay you back what Mom stole. I don't need his money. I know. But he needs to give it. He says it's the only way he can sleep at night. David appeared the next day, just as Sophia had said he would. He carried lumber on his shoulder, tools in a bag. Mom, the barn. I noticed the whole south wall is rotting. I want to fix it. You don't have to. Yes, I do. He set the lumber down. I tried to steal this property. The least I can do is maintain it. So he worked, every weekend for 6 weeks, rebuilding the barn wall by wall, replacing boards his father had put up 40 years ago. Sometimes Sophia worked with him. Sometimes they worked in silence. Sometimes they talked quietly and I didn't interrupt. On the last Saturday in June, David finished the barn. He stood back, wiping sweat from his face, looking at what he'd built. Then he came to find me in the kitchen. It's done, he said. It's not perfect. I'm not as good with my hands as Dad was, but it's solid. It'll last. Thank you. He sat down at the table, the same table where I'd confronted him 3 months ago. Mom, I filed for divorce. It's final next week, I heard. Sophia's living with me now. Small apartment, nothing fancy, but we're making it work. He looked at his hands. I'm making $70,000 a year now. Took a pay cut to get away from my old job where everyone knew. It's enough. We're learning to live on enough. That's good, David. Is it? He looked up and his eyes were wet. Is it enough? Will anything I do ever be enough to make up for what I did to you? I didn't answer right away. I got up, went to the cupboard, took down 2 mugs, made tea the way James used to like it. Strong and bitter with just a little honey. I set a mug in front of David. He stared at it. Your father used to make this when he was sad, I said. When something weighed on him, when he felt like he'd failed. He said the bitterness reminded him that life isn't always sweet, but the honey reminded him it doesn't have to stay bitter forever. David picked up the mug, hands shaking, took a sip, made a face at the taste. It's terrible, he said. It grows on you. We sat there drinking terrible tea in my kitchen, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel the weight of betrayal quite so heavy on my chest. That evening, I walked out to the garden. David and Sophia were there, planting the last of the roses. The same yellow roses James had planted on our 30th anniversary. The same ones I thought were gone forever. These are the climbing kind, David said, reading from the package. They'll take a few years to really fill in, maybe 3 or 4. Some things are worth waiting for, I said. Sophia looked up from where she knelt in the dirt. Grandma? Can I ask you something? Yes. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Really forgive me? I looked at my granddaughter, at the dirt under her nails and the sunburn on her nose and the hope in her eyes. I think forgiveness is like these roses, Sophia. You plant it, you water it, you give it time. Some days it grows. Some days it seems like nothing's happening. But if you're patient, if you're consistent, eventually something beautiful might bloom. So, maybe? Maybe. I smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. Ask me again when the roses bloom. David stood up, brushed dirt from his jeans. Mom, I know I don't deserve to ask, but do you think, someday, we could be a family again? I looked at my son, at my granddaughter, at the barn David rebuilt, at the garden Sophia replanted, at the work they were doing, brick by brick, flower by flower, to repair what they'd broken. We're working on it, I said. That night, I sat on my porch and listened to the crickets, drank my terrible chamomile tea, watched the sun set over the property they'd tried to steal. My phone buzzed. A message from Miguel. "How are you holding up?" I typed back. "I'm still here, still standing, still mine." The wind rustled through the new roses. They hadn't bloomed yet, but I could see the buds forming, small and green and full of promise. Some flowers take years to bloom, but they're worth the wait. 2 years later, I'm standing in my garden on a Saturday morning in June, watching David and Sophia plant the last section of the fence. The old one finally gave out last winter, and this time, they insisted on replacing it themselves. "No contractors, Mom," David had said. "We do this one with our own hands." The roses bloomed last spring. Yellow climbers, just like James planted, they covered the entire south wall of the barn, bright and wild and beautiful. I cried the first time I saw them. Sophia held my hand and cried with me. A lot has changed in 2 years. Elena got out on parole last month after serving 22 months. I heard she moved to Oklahoma, working as a receptionist at a dental office. No therapy license, no luxury car, no more manipulation. Just a quiet life far away from the wreckage she created. I don't think about her much anymore. Anger is exhausting, and I'm 73 now. I'd rather spend my energy on things that matter. Marcus sent me a letter 6 months ago. A real letter, handwritten on lined paper, not a text or email. He didn't ask for forgiveness, didn't make excuses, just told me what he'd been doing. He works at a hardware store now, helping customers pick out paint colors and teaching DIY workshops on weekends. He coaches Little League Baseball for free. He volunteers at a food bank every Thursday. "I'm trying to be the kind of man Dad would have been proud of," he wrote. "I know I'm not there yet. Maybe I never will be, but I'm trying." I wrote him back. Just 2 sentences. "Keep trying. That's all any of us can do. We're not close. We may never be close again, but we're talking. That's something." Judith died 4 months ago. Heart attack, sudden and quick. I heard about it from a neighbor who saw the obituary. There was no funeral, or if there was, I wasn't invited. I thought I'd feel satisfaction, or justice, or relief. Instead, I felt sad. Sad for a woman who'd spent 73 years chasing things that didn't matter and died alone because of it. I sent flowers to the funeral home, yellow roses. The card said, "We reap what we sow. May you find peace." David saw me writing it. "That's generous of you, Mom." "It's not generosity," I said. "It's closure." Sophia graduated from nursing school last December. She stood on that stage in her white coat, and I sat in the audience crying like a fool. David sat next to me, crying just as hard. She works at the same senior center where she did her community service, makes $48,000 a year, and lives in a small apartment near the hospital. She comes to my house every Sunday for dinner. Last week, she brought someone with her, a young man named Chris, a paramedic, with kind eyes and a nervous smile. "Grandma, this is my boyfriend," she said, her voice shy but proud. "Chris, this is the strongest woman I know. My grandmother, Ruth." We shook hands. He had a firm grip and calluses on his palms, working hands. "Mrs. Campbell, Sophia talks about you all the time," he said. "I've heard about the roses, the barn, everything. I hope I get to hear more." "Stay for dinner," I said. "I'm making pot roast." He stayed. And at the table, Sophia told him the whole story, everything. The fall, the betrayal, the courthouse, the work of rebuilding. She didn't hide from it, didn't make excuses. "I did terrible things to my grandmother," she said, her voice steady. "I hurt her because I was greedy and stupid, and she gave me a chance to become someone better." That's the kind of person she is. Chris looked at me with something like awe. "That takes incredible strength. It takes more strength to change than to judge." I said. Sophia did the hard part. David and I have dinner every Wednesday night, just the two of us. We talk about ordinary things, his job, the weather, a book one of us read. Sometimes we talk about James, sharing memories like precious coins. Last month, he brought me an envelope. Inside was a check for $52,000. That's everything Mom stole, plus $2,000 for interest, he said. I know it took 2 years. I know it doesn't fix anything, but it's done. It's paid back. I looked at the check, looked at my son, saw the gray in his hair now, the lines around his eyes, saw a man who'd worked 2 jobs for 24 months to right a wrong. I tore up the check. Mom, what are you? Put it in a college fund for your future children, I said. Or donate it to an elder abuse prevention program, or save it for the day you need it. But I don't want it. Why not? Because you already paid me back. Every Saturday you spent rebuilding the barn. Every Sunday Sophia spent replanting the garden. Every Wednesday you sit at this table and talk to me like I'm a person, not an ATM. That's the payment that matters. He cried. My 50-year-old son put his head down on my kitchen table and cried like he was 5 years old again. I put my hand on his shoulder and let him. This morning, Miguel stopped by. He brings me coffee once a month, checks in, makes sure I'm okay. He's married now, with a baby girl named Ruth. He showed me pictures on his phone, a tiny brown-eyed baby with a shock of black hair. She's beautiful, I said. She's named after the strongest client I ever had, he said. I want her to grow up knowing your story, knowing that even when people hurt you, even when family betrays you, you can survive, you can rebuild, you can choose grace without being weak. That's a lot of pressure for a 6-month-old? He laughed. She'll live up to it, just like you did. After he left, I walked out to the barn, the one David rebuilt. It still smells like fresh wood, even after 2 years. I ran my hand along the boards, feeling the grain, the small imperfections that make it real. This isn't the barn James built. It's not as perfect, but it's solid. It will last. That's the thing about rebuilding. It's never quite the same as the original. There are scars. There are differences. But sometimes, the thing you rebuild is stronger than what you lost. I heard a car pull up, looked out to see Sophia and David unloading plants from the trunk. More roses, white ones this time. We thought we'd add to the garden, Sophia called. If that's okay with you? It's more than okay. We spent the afternoon digging and planting. Sophia told stories about difficult patients at work. David talked about a birdhouse he was building. I listened, contributed when I had something to say, and mostly just enjoyed the sound of their voices mixing with the bird song. As the sun started to set, we sat on the porch with glasses of lemonade. The garden stretched out before us. Yellow roses and white ones, old growth and new, all tangled together in something that looked like chaos but was actually carefully tended life. Grandma, Sophia said quietly, can I ask you that question again? Which question? About forgiveness. You told me to ask when the roses bloomed. They've been blooming for over a year now. I looked at my granddaughter, at the woman she'd become, at the dirt under her nails and the peace in her eyes. Yes, I said, I forgive you. She started crying. Really, really, you've earned it. Not because you suffered or because you said sorry, but because you changed. You became someone different, someone better. That's what forgiveness is for, to mark the end of who you were and the beginning of who you are. She hugged me, fierce and tight, and I held her like I used to when she was small. David watched us, his eyes wet. Mom, can I ask too? You don't have to ask, David. I forgave you 6 months ago. I was just waiting for you to forgive yourself. He broke down. Right there on my porch, with the sunset painting everything gold, my son finally forgave himself for the man he'd been and embraced the man he'd become. That night, after they left, I sat alone in my kitchen with a cup of chamomile tea. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that used to feel like loneliness, but now feels like peace. I thought about James, about the life we built, about the family we raised, about how some of them broke and some of them healed and some of them did both. I thought about the 29 cassette tapes still in the barn, Each one a message from a man who loved me enough to leave me weapons against my own loneliness. I thought about Miguel's baby, carrying my name into a new generation. I thought about Marcus working at a hardware store, trying to become someone his father would recognize. I thought about Elena in Oklahoma, starting over in the wreckage of her own choices. And I thought about myself. Ruth Campbell, 73 years old, still here, still standing, still choosing every day to tend the garden instead of burning it down. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. "Thank you for giving me a second chance. I love you, Grandma." I typed back, "I love you too. See you Sunday." Then I turned off the phone, finished my tea, and walked out to the garden one more time. The roses were closing for the night, their petals folding inward against the coming darkness. But they'd open again tomorrow. They always did. That's the thing about flowers, about gardens, about families, about forgiveness. You plant them, you tend them, you wait, and if you're patient, if you're faithful, if you're willing to do the work, they bloom.